All right, speaking with the American Athletic Conference Commissioner, Mike Aresco, give me your thoughts on the conference as a whole.
Chris, I'm really pleased with where we are. I don't know how, if you're me, you wouldn't be. Where we were 2 years ago, where we are now, we hold the national championship in men's basketball, the national championship in women's basketball. To have this trophy here, we're the only conference that can do that at Media Day, and the same thing tomorrow with our women. We won the Fiesta Bowl, UCF, huge accomplishment. We had a team in the College World Series. We had a runner-up in the NIT. Great roster of coaches in football and basketball. You see it here in basketball with people sitting behind me. We have a bright future. We've got work to do. We've got to continue to build the identity of this conference. But we have a great new name. We have a great logo. People recognize us now. So I'm very pleased overall, but again, no resting on any laurels. We've had a remarkable first year. I don't think you can even think about it. It's almost a fairy tale kind of thing. I mean, you have a rebranded conference. It's not new. It had some teams that have been around, but it was a new group that had to be working together. And in the very first year, you win a Fiesta Bowl, and you beat the Big 12 champion, and decisively, and you win a national championship in men's and women's basketball, and you do all these other things that I mentioned, runner-up in the NIT. That's a high bar, and it's a remarkable accomplishment for this group of student athletes and coaches, but we're not going to rest on it. There's a lot of work to do.
Well, touch on that, expand on that. What work do you want to see done?
Yeah, we need to do a couple of things. We still need to improve the lower tier of both of our leagues, football and basketball. Olympic sports are very good. We do very well in Olympic sports. We'll continue to work hard to improve those. But as you know, we got hurt a little bit when it came time for the committee to evaluate our conference because they felt that our lower tier teams were not as strong. And there was a pretty big gap between the top and the bottom. We need to narrow that gap. And then we also need to work, hard to keep building the brand, building the identity, getting out there who we are, what we have, what we've accomplished, who's in this league. No one's going to tell our story for us. We're going to have to do that ourselves. The other thing, we have to also make sure that there are no misperceptions regarding this autonomy business, Chris, because we're going to do the things that those other 5 conferences are going to do. We're going to pay full cost of attendance. Scholarships haven't kept pace with the cost of going to school. We're going to make sure that our student athletes have that. Many of the things that you're hearing about with those conferences have been deregulated, and you can do them now. And a lot of our schools are providing multi-year scholarship aid. They're providing, and as Mick said, nobody's running kids off who are doing what they're supposed to do. We also have other things that we're doing, whether it's insurance, whether it's nutrition. I just want people to understand that there's not a group of, haves and have-nots. We're doing those things for our student athletes, and that's going to be really important. The other thing I would point out, scholarship limits, the transfer rules staying the same, that gives us a real chance to compete. It's a much more, there's never a true level playing field because this is human nature we're dealing with, but it's more level than it's ever been, and I think we benefit from that. I think we can build our brand and build our programs. It's basketball was a little more ready-made. This is a great group of schools that came with great basketball tradition. Football's more of a work in progress, I've said that, but they both complement each other because football keeps us in the public eye for 6 months, and then basketball, takes over. And then our Olympic sports, we hope to have some really good baseball teams. Tulane and East Carolina have wonderful programs. They just hired new coaches. They've had a lot of history of success. We have other teams, UCF, that are really good. And Houston went almost to the College World Series. So we expect to make our mark there. We expect to do really well in all the other Olympic sports. So in terms of the conference, what do we need to do? We need to get out there, make sure we develop our brand. You've seen the ad campaign. I don't know if you saw some of our ads with the power theme and pictures of some of our student athletes. We run those in USA Today, Sports Business Journal. You see our PSAs, which we run in our ESPN telecast. We've got to continue to be focused on branding, but you have to have the product. You can brand all you want, but if people don't like what you have, they don't like your product, it's not going to matter. We need to win, we need to get better, and we need to encourage our schools, and we need to help our schools. Our conference office is there to help our schools compete, and we've put in guidelines regarding RPI. We've encouraged our schools and challenged our schools to schedule tough games, which they've done in both football and basketball. Toughest non-conference schedule in football of any conference, without question, any conference. And in basketball, it's pretty darn close, as you saw the teams were willing to play. play. And that's how you build your conference and your brand. I'd like to see down the road multiple tournament teams or teams competing for a tournament bid. I'd like to see, multiple teams in the top 25 in football. That's the goal. All the while doing it the right way, doing it with sportsmanship, doing it with class, doing it the right way. You look at a Kevin Ollie, and how do you get a better guy than that? He's right over here. And you look at our coaches, Larry Brown, the dean of our coaches, and all the others who, they're molding young people. They got to do it the right way. We have a good academic standing in this conference, and we also are really focused on sportsmanship. We take it seriously, and I think if you do things right, and you have the resources we have, and you're in the markets we're in, and you have the drive behind the presidents, ADs, and coaches to get better, I think we're going to be okay.
Shifting gears to women's basketball in the conference, clearly you have UConn, the elite in women's basketball. What's going to take, in your opinion, for the gap to close within the conference for teams to get better, to get to that high standard of UConn?
Yeah, it's a concern for everyone because women's basketball doesn't have the general level, I wouldn't call it parity, but just the general level that men's does at this point of competitiveness with some of the top programs. UConn has really dominated, and we love the fact that they've done so well, and Gino has done a wonderful job taking nothing away from them. Our other programs do need to get strengthened, and they will. I think they will because, one, they see UConn, they play UConn, they know what it takes to get better, they know what it takes to recruit. So I think you will see an improvement in their teams. What we're hoping to do is have a few teams, and USF has had some real success under Jose. And if we can get teams challenging UConn from time to time, and then building their brands, building their programs, we'll be fine. It's a little different in basketball where we had a whole bunch. We go pretty deep in basketball, even though we still want to raise the lower tier of our conference. It's not quite the same thing as women's basketball where, as you know, UConn's been head and shoulders above everyone across the country. And in our conference, you're playing them all the time. So you really got to, develop your talent base and also just your physicality, your presence.
One last thing, you've said it time and time again that the American is not a mid-major conference. Expound on that.
Oh yeah, not even close. No, we're a major conference in every respect. We are in basketball. We're an elite conference. We're one of the top. We just won the national championship. We had 4 teams in the NCAA. We should have had 5. We had the runner-up in the NIT. How do you say we're not an elite conference? Look at the coaches. Is this group not one of the elite groups of coaches? So I don't think we're not even remotely a mid-major. And also we play football and basketball, which makes us a major conference almost by definition. And in football, while we're not part of that autonomous group at this point, we're clearly knocking on the door as the 6th, and we're an FBS conference. All 10 FBS conferences have the same rights and privileges. It's just a question of how competitive are we going to be. We in football, and we don't have some of the big flagship state universities with 100,000 seat stadiums and all that. We know that, but we know that in this day and age, with scholarship limits, with the way you can build a program, look what UCF has done. Look what obviously Cincinnati's done over the years. Look what Memphis is doing now in terms of building their program. Houston's a perfect example, building a program in both football and basketball. We compete at the highest level, and no, if we see that term, we go on the attack immediately. No, we're not a mid-major, and it's not. I don't think it's ever going to be applied to us in basketball. Sometimes in football, because of that autonomous 5 business. But even then, we say, no. We're an FBS conference. We play at the highest level. We're a major conference. And we say power is the focus of our ads. We say, when you win a national championship, you win the Fiesta Bowl, tell our kids you're not powerful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.